Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. Picking up where we left off on the first video on how to be assertive with a covert narcissist and how to handle the sort of lack of communication that they're prone to exhibiting. And I apologize, I had a video shut down there. So I'm picking up where we left off so we don't lose track. And so as we were saying, oftentimes the others in the relationship with a covert narcissist tend to blame themselves for the lack of communication or the communication breakdown or lack of emotional quality or lack of intimacy that we see in the relationship. Oftentimes I think that's the first step of awareness is asking, what was I not good enough? Was I not kind enough? Was I not assertive enough? How did this happen in our relationship? And they tend to take a lot of responsibility on themselves because they're so loving of this giving person, the covert narcissist, who seems to be very blameless, seems to display no negative emotions. But the problem is that they don't, express really any emotion whatsoever. And you have to try to draw it out of them. And it becomes this whole dance to try to get them to open up. And a lot of people end up getting exhausted by it, but furthermore, feeling like it's their fault, that they have done something wrong, and then they internalize that, that they're not lovable, that they're not good enough, that they're, flawed in some way. And so they tend to feel this pervasively going on in the relationship. How to become assertive, how to kind of get the foundation back, open up the communication channels, how to be more assertive. Well, assertiveness actually just means, speaking to your fears. If you have been afraid of communicating with this person because it's been shoved under the rug for so long, you've habitually treated this person with, reflecting back their sort of quietness or, that starvation of anorexia, of emotion, emotional quality, and living that way. Realize you have to come up and you have to be assertive. You have to bring it out on the table. You have to speak to your fears. You have to speak your fears, and just say, it really scares me that you're not discussing these things with me, or I'm really concerned that you're not taking more of an active role here in the family. Or it really concerns me that we have all this, shoddy stuff around, and we're having, it just tends to carry over into the household here. And I feel like we can do better than this. And I feel like we're going to do better than this. And, and just begin to affirm them from your own standpoint. I am doing better than this. This is, we need to pick it up here. And then being assertive, which means being committed. Not interested, but being committed to moving beyond the situation and funk, if you will, that you're in. So assertiveness has a sense of commitment, a sense of ownership, a sense of accountability, and a sense of self-trust and trust in the other person. And that, if there's self-doubt going on, if there's a sense of, a lack of accountability, a lack of, owning up. If you're still, stuck in this, it's because you have not given yourself that self-trust and believe in yourself that you can have that emotional exchange. And oftentimes the covert narcissists, they might, say, I'm not good at talking, or I'm not good at, getting things done around the house, or I am lazy. They might make excuses, but it's just that it's an excuse, even though they know they can do better, and they have to own it themselves, which means it's not just meant to please you, but it's to get them, performing up to standard. Then you have to be able to vocalize it in a way that expresses your concern, but it comes from an I statement. It's not a blame statement, you always do this, or, why do you do that? It's not a blame. It's about taking ownership. Being assertive is taking ownership for how you feel, and that you have an idea of the vision of the future. And so you're not trying to hold things of the past against them. You're basically giving them an opportunity and presenting choices here. And that's really what we call the quantum field, which is where you're in touch with a lot of the different choices that you can make, and then you're taking action steps proactively, assertively, and energetically, enthusiastically in that direction, so you can live in that space, enjoy that space, grow into that space. However, it's going to be tough if the covert narcissist does not feel like they have done anything wrong, or that they, there's nothing wrong with their behavior. There's nothing wrong with shutting you guys out. There's nothing wrong with me, messing things up. It's nothing wrong with me with having no friends. I mean, if they feel this way, then you cannot change them. And so you have to realize that, you have to then be assertive in your life, start, realizing the limitations that are going to exist with a covert narcissist. If they're not willing to grow or take accountability or assertiveness, then the relationship or your life is going to be very limited there. So, in terms of those limitations, it's going to be something that you have to accept and deal with and not procrastinate, because the covert narcissist is going to be the king or queen of procrastination. They're not going to want to take steps. They're really just going to self-absorbed, self-obsess, remain aloof and just, pursue their own selfish needs to the devoid of others in their life. And especially if you're living with them, if it's having a real negative impact, you need to address it, and you need to be able to make some decisions and hold some accountability moving forward. You absolutely do have the right to choice. You do have the right to personal acknowledgement. You do have the right to have an open air and not just like dead space in the corner where this narcissist is living and, perpetually, creating a toxic environment through remaining aloof. So learn to become assertive, vocalize your needs coming from the I, and I would like to see, I would like for us to have, I see us, doing this here, and how do you feel about that? Putting these questions out there to keep them accountable, but coming from an I, want, and I see, and I believe sort of statements, and I feel we deserve, I think we, we can, have these and these things, for our family, for our kids, and, and just say, but, that you have expectations and know that, that they can fulfill this. Because, this sort of devoid of communication, it can be very extreme. It can be very, very, very discouraging to be stonewalled, to have the silent treatment, and to have that lack of communication, especially when it involves children. Make sure your children are protected from this, and they're getting the attention, the admiration, the respect, and really the sort of mirroring that they need, so they're not going without and suffering really, on into the later years of their life. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.